哈嘞哈啷吼哎呀嗨啦回来嘿喂哈啦哎哈啦呀哈啷吼嘿。
Hello, universe. Welcome to Pickathon Podcast, episode 29. I'm your host, Zale. I'm also the founder of the Pickathon Music Festival, and this is a podcast about creative discovery, creative journeys, stories that kind of represent just lives that are meaningful. So, wish us luck. We're just gonna kind of get into that, and today my guest is Joe Rainey, who's an amazing powwow singer, but just kind of moving music in directions that is really, meaningful to the universe. But I'm really super excited to talk to him and have that discussion. And thinking about Pickathon and for us, one thing that's happened kind of recently we've been talking about is trying to find a home. Our universe has been as kind of not a corporate festival. We've been at Pendarvis Farm since 2006, and the story is pretty awesome. That farm is pretty special. It really kind of comes from the Pendarvis family wanting to have something cool happen there and inviting us in after two other places that we started since 1999. We just were too small. We just weren't the cool people, couldn't pay enough or whatever. It was like a familiar story. We had a dream, we had a kind of sense of purpose, but really those alignments didn't come together on our world until Sherry and Scott Pendarvis, who were into art, who saw some beauty and magic in this idea that let's bring music and culture and it wasn't about commercial, this is going to be the biggest commercial success and we're going to crush it. We had just kind of this dream of, no, this is the best music we know and it needs to be heard. And we had this very kind of mission of let's help community radio. Let's make all this music matter. Let's create some media to make pop culture bend towards music that really is why all this other music is interesting. It's not because pop music doesn't come out of a vacuum, and it's not something that self-sustains. It's the music from its regional roots, the people that brought it to the next generation, that heard it from that generation, that experimented with it, that pushed it farther. And that happens literally all over the country, all over the world. And just magic comes out of that. That being part of it, feeling the kind of intensity of why people are parts of that. And I just want to Scott and Sherry are just so important to the musical universe in a way they'll never appreciate. If we didn't have that Pickathon, something like this kind of festival that really believes in the essence of music world is kind of the core thing that really, that's how we're going to kind of gift the universe learning and how they're going to feel. Music has a special place, even over other types of kind of art and such, because it's such a visceral, you feel it in a way that you intellectualize it, but you feel it. And that feeling is really kind of unique to music. I mean, there's some of that in movies and different, but music really is just kind of a universal thing. And no matter what, we've always found, no matter what you think you like, when you pull out the things that are the most amazing in a musical world, you can't deny it. And you're going to walk away knowing, holy shit, I actually like that. I didn't think I even knew. And, just kind of an update on this whole home, this whole kind of fragile dream. We just submitted our conditional use permit, which is the story there is, if you don't know, that's been going on for a while. We don't have a guaranteed home. We're in a city. A music venue on a farm is not something that's just a normal thing. Maybe if we were out in the country, but you got to go through a lot of paperwork. And so we kind of went through, I learned a lot. I'll just say I probably did the work of a ton of consultants, environmental overlays, conditions, considerations for noise and dust and maps and title reports. and I did it, and we submitted it last week, and so that's like 100+ pages of stuff. And all I can say is City Happy Valley has been really awesome with that, but it's just like, it's a lot. If we weren't such a strong community, I don't know if everyone in the universe would be able to kind of go through the kind of like level of rigor that is. It's like basically we're applying as if we're a hospital. We're not a hospital. We're a once a year event, but we're kind of going for some permanence, some like, let's have 5, 7, 10 years so that we can kind of figure out like a permanent home. Because like what we want to really kind of be is art, be kind of touching people, be changing lives. And, we got to do this other side of it. Like, we got to be sustainable. We got to be business. We got to figure out a home. We got to like do all that other stuff too, which, that's kind of like the United States. There's not like art is not valued, as we always say here in the United States. It's not like, it is like the core thing that makes life interesting, but you got to like live in a corporate world when you're in America. We're just not going to stop. And I've just really big shout out. This is a huge day to have submitted that. And next is going to be like getting our community behind writing some letters. That will happen in a week. So you'll hear this within a week. You're going to be hearing us here write this email. And then soon after that, we're going to be like hopefully showing up at a public hearing to like just let folks know if it's important to you that you want this to happen. And we can get back to kind of like thinking about the art and like that dynamic kind of sense of like the world of music that we just want to help have a voice. And so that's where we're at on the Pickathon side. It's a kind of a big day. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm just so excited to let you know that. So it's in. So hooray. And with that, I want to kind of bring in somebody's voice and music style that I helped transform my year this year, 2023. I never heard anything like powwow music presented in this way. And I'm just really excited to hear the story. Let's welcome Joe Rainey. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, Zale, how's it going, man?
Good, man. I'm so excited to have you here today. It's kind of an honor. I feel like I'm talking to somebody. I'm a super fan, so maybe when I get into that super fan mode, all of a sudden I get a little nervous. And welcome. How are you doing these days?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing good. Just getting back to my life before I was traveling and performing.
Right on.
I haven't been on tour this whole time, but I guess we're smart touring, I guess you could maybe say. Just taking breaks has been key for us, and it's been really helpful in many ways, just to take a second and look back and see some of these places that have seen something completely new. So it's been a good trip around everywhere, but it's also been
pretty
rejuvenating to get back into rejuvenating to get back into your regular life and ready to buckle down for the winter.
Oh, I know. Actually, it's coming, right?
Yes, sir.
So how, I was thinking about how to describe your music, and I thought, well, I think you just do a better job of describing. What would you describe your music? How would you describe it?
First and foremost, my music is, it's powwow music. So that's something that's been a part of my life, all my whole life, ever since I was, 5 or 6 years old. But what Andrew Broder and myself created is something completely new and different. It's one singular thing from Andrew and one singular thing from myself. So it's Andrew's production and my vocals or my voice and my powwow songs, and from there we created Nineta, and we're very proud of what we created. But if I had to describe what this is, I would first tell you that I'm not the best at describing it, just because it's something on its own. However,
Yeah.
There have been people that have experimented with their powwow voice and collaborated in in different areas of music. But fair to say that this is the first time where it sounded like this.
It's really cool. I mean, it's what's one of the really interesting things I think you achieved was bringing, powwow music to kind of a music lover culture. Like maybe, I don't know, from, crossing over, getting an 8 out of 10 out of a Pitchfork, right? Like that's kind of the kind of great critical stamp in today's indie universe.
Yeah.
But it's just wild, like, and I didn't thinking of it. I definitely thought of it as powwow music. In fact, I actually, when we were like hearing your music last year, I was always kind of cueing my friends, like, how many albums do you have, like powwow albums do you have, and like really trying to take cue, like who's been paying attention to this universe. Like I definitely have some friends that have some powwow music, but in general, this was like one of the first real powwow things that kind of brought into their attention. And it was really kind of just an awakening for, I think you had, in a way that, I hasn't experienced in like my modern, is just to see something that just so universal but so identifiable as powwow music. It's super interesting.
Yeah. Shout out to your friends who have powwow albums. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Just like you say, this is this is a different
Devin Leger.
Hey man, what's up, Devin? This is like you said, this is a total different universe, and it's I like to say it's unkept. It's very independently upkept, with a lot of people's own recordings and their own powwow recordings. So like if you could imagine everyone around the drum at a big powwow in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Lots of different types of handheld recorders, and or the big with the handles and the actual with the microphone. So cassette was the main way of recording, obviously, in the 80s, but that created this huge tape culture. And kind of like deadheads trading tapes and recording live shows, and it's something like that. But I think it's on a more larger scale than that.
Right on. Yeah.
There's tons of independently recorded powwow tapes out there. So there's not only my own, there's, think of the elder statesmen in powwow singing and their powwow tape collection.
Yeah.
Some are quite massive. The scary part is losing those tapes to,
Oh, yeah.
Natural disasters, fires, some might be in an impound lot or something. That thought alone really, it got my engine going a lot when I wanted to think about what are the next steps of being a powwow singer, and what does it mean to like you said, want to pass this down to generations, and how am I going to do that, especially if I'm not around, and especially when my teachers are no longer around.
Yeah.
So there's always that debate there of whether some things should be recorded and not recorded. But when it comes to powwow, it's public, and it's public domain basically. It's not like we're going there to disrespect their culture, but it's a very public forum. And like I said, there's tons of people who have massive personal tape collections of powwows. So now we have YouTube, but there also have been studio recorded albums of powwow drum groups for a really long time.
Yeah.
So on top of the independent world, and on top of the album professional world, lots of powwow albums out there. Powwow weekends, those are usually what you capture, the whole weekend of many different drum groups. And powwow albums are usually just one drum group. So we are our own archive.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to hear a certain powwow, let's say Hinckley 1998.
Yeah.
in Hinckley, Minnesota. We would have to if you weren't there, you had to find someone that was there and get their tape from them and dub it, all that types of everything that goes on with cassette tapes is going on. But you started getting to the digital age, and then video, and cell phone videos now. There's a lot going on with powwow music that needs to be wrangled up and kind of taken care of, and I'm not trying to be the only one to do it, because I share a lot of the same passion with other powwow singers about what we do and what we create. So
that's cool. I mean, it's really interesting.
That's basically what powwow music is. Or being a powwow singer is a lot more than that. But
I totally get it.
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up in this. You grew up in southern Minnesota, part of the Red Lake, but you weren't in the actual that's north of the city, right? Where you're the
Yes.
So what was that like? What was the community like there? How was growing up in Minnesota?
I became a huge Minnesota Timberwolves fan. That's the difference.
Karl Anthony Towns Jr. I'm actually from Kentucky, so he's what I'm.
Okay. Shout out to Malik Monk.
Yeah.
And De'Aaron Fox playing wonderful basketball as grown men.
Yeah.
I think
Say Jill just
tonight.
Yeah, don't forget the Thunder.
SGA, yes, we play SGA tonight. Shortly after this podcast, I'll be preparing myself to buckle and watch some basketball like I always do. But to get back to your point, this is something that came from the city. I feel like just the collaboration aspect of the album came from where I grew up, Southside Minneapolis, and the collaboration of everyday life was, in my own life, growing up, being a urban Indian, as a lot of people say. It's all about how what you do with the things in your environment.
Yeah.
And my mom was a single mom. I have an older sister named Amy, and my dad also has kids, but they didn't come along till I was already older. But growing up, it was just my mom, my sister, and myself, and also my mom's support system and her family and our family, and being babysat in a house where powwow singing was around.
That's my question. Was it around? Was like that part of it?
Yeah, that drew me to it, and being babysat in a house where the young men in the house were a part of a drum group called the Boys.
Oh wow!
And I would just hang around, and I was just little Joey, and I was really shy.
How old were you?
I was like 5 or 6.
No way.
So I just really didn't start singing at that point in time. I was more into recording and just watching and being around and kind of figuring it out. But I was super shy, so they weren't like always like having me sit down at the drum, and just because I found my own way. So my mom, since I showed interest into powwow singing, luckily there were some after school programs that had that going on, after school drum and practice class, or just come and drum and sing, dance too. So luckily I grew up in that time frame where it was in the community, like it is now. It always has been, but what we created, and Broders from Minneapolis too, it's just something very Minnesotan that we did. That's just the only way I can put it.
I mean, and the Boys is like a really well-known powwow group, right? Like it's been,
yes sir,
like just wild that you were getting babysit there.
Yeah, yes sir, that's right. That's a Twin Cities drum group, made up a lot of my older brothers, and I pay respect to them a lot, and a lot of what I learned is from them. The original members of the Boys drum group mean a lot to me, and there's a lot of singers in Minneapolis and in Minnesota I owe a lot to, and the boys are one of them. Every one of them, even the late members as well.
And so, like, you're sitting there listening, like, what was the intro, like, where you just started to sing, you started playing drums, how did you go from just listening and observing.
I was at home listening to my tapes a lot. Everything that I recorded, I would just go back and listen to. I would buy Powwow albums at Powwows and go home and listen to, the different styles of singing that there was out there. So, just going home and being a student, just studying yourself and, learning songs that way. If you heard a song that then you kind of realize like, hey, man, I know that song, or maybe go wiggle in there and try to sit down and take a knee and get a drumstick, and they'll let you sit down. Every the young singer's little scared dream that they have, little nightmare, like, oh man, what if I go try to sit down and they say no?
They say no. Yes.
That's yeah. But yeah, just growing up in Minnesota, you always had these role models of these powwow singers and these ceremonial singers, or these well-known singers that are from Minnesota, and their family might be from South Dakota or North Dakota, or they might be a transplant from somewhere else, but they were there to teach in the city. So this is I'm a product of Minneapolis Public School District, and I'm also a product of many of the Native youth programs in Minneapolis. So my mom kept me busy and out of the streets with a lot of these youth programs, Native youth programs in Minneapolis.
And it's interesting. Like, was there a subculture in high school? Like, were other kids your age listening to powwow music? Were you able to like be connecting with your peers?
Yeah, a little bit. I was going. You hit puberty around that time, so like the singing part wasn't that often. We were taught to sing through our voice change and just kind of never let it stop. That way, on the other side, you'd have a strong voice, and don't smoke cigarettes. But I had no worries there. But a lot of my friends did sing. Growing up 5 or 6 years old, learning how to sing, and then by the time I'm 9, 10, 11, I learned how to sing with my little dude voice. So there was a group of us that had little dude voices, and we sounded just cute, and we'd go sing at powwows around Minnesota, and we'd have different gigs, and so yeah, I did have some homies that were my age that we got to experience singing for things. I think back then we just didn't realize some of the stuff that we were singing for, but we just got a chance to get out of school and go sing. So sharing that love with kids my age helped me along.
Totally.
And it didn't put me with the big kids quite yet, so I could hang around with singers my age.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I mean, that there's like a subculture, like, because I grown up in South, where it wasn't like you didn't hear much powwow music, like it just
Sure,
whatever, and so like having that kind of exist in like in the community is kind of like a cool thing to me. Like, I just like, there's some styles of music doesn't exist except wherever it kind of was born and fostered, but it's right. Powwow music's like broad, it's all over the place, right? It's like it is. It's like a kind of a just a humongous shared musical experience between so many cultures. So that's cool.
It is. It, like you said, it's a whole universe basically. It's really it's vast.
I just love the idea that in high school, like, there could be like kids, like, there could be like urban kids listening to powwow music, think like, this is cool. Like, like being the cool kids.
I think now I think it's a lot more open and a lot more free. It's available. Just to, like I said, go. Even, I'm pretty sure kids, like my daughter's a huge YouTube powwow watching person, so she has her playlists, and she has the kids have it down nowadays to where they know where to go get their music and to listen to it all the time. That's why I have a SoundCloud. That's where I keep a lot of my recordings. Just to kind of mess around sonically with mixing stuff and doing practice that type of thing, because my passion is recording powwow music, so I do have to really explore the different ways of sound, and really just using my own ear to make it sound right. But like I said, I'm not the only one that shares this enthusiasm with sound and recording drum groups, and I have other singer bros and women singers that share the same
That's
passion
cool.
of recording and doing it right and making it sound good.
What a wild way to think about like that whole universe. You know, like the recorded history is like kind of DIY tapers. You know, like you said, like
Yeah.
it's not like compositional stuff. Like, hey, I got a bunch of songs. Let's go record a record, right? Like it's no, it's this.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, we got this gathering. You know, let's this moment in time when these people came together, and it was so amazing, right? And it's all DIY
Yeah.
recorded and just like propagated
Yeah.
by, that's just so that is unique, right?
Yeah. I have full powwows on my SoundCloud. I still record in tape, believe it or not. As I look for my recorder, did I put somewhere?
So like, how would people find that? They just search for your name on SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, yeah, SoundCloud, Joe Rainey Senior. You'll see it pop
Go.
up. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, I have I have lots of stuff from my old archive and when I was growing up, and I have like stuff along the way. But I try to keep up and I try to post as much as I can whenever I can get to my computer and sit down and kind of mix it down a little bit, and I let AI master my stuff in SoundCloud, which is kind of cool.
Does it actually work?
So
Does it work?
it does. It's
Oh,
kind of cool.
that's kind of cool.
So like the late stuff that you see, the latest stuff that you see on my SoundCloud where it says this is mastered, that is by SoundCloud's AI by
That's
Dolby.
pretty
So,
sick, actually.
and it's just very simple. You have like four things to like change your mix to what you want it, and I think it works. I haven't found out the better way to do it, but my homie who knows the ins and outs of everything, I'm pretty sure could make those pretty banging.
For some DIY, yeah.
Yeah, if at a two-step process, man, I'll take it and jam out in my car. So it's there for people to listen to. I have playlists on there. People listen to it while they're traveling on the road, and then gets them from point A to point B. But also, I just encourage everyone to do it themselves. Come up with your own SoundCloud and put
Oh, I
down
love it.
your own recordings. So yeah, it's not monetized either. It's a big thing for me.
I know that's hard. That's that difference between like propagating the idea of art and the meaning of like changing people's lives, and then but trying to make it sustainable, right? These are like
Definitely.
two goals that should, you have to figure. It's like a weird custom fit of how you actually make those two things happen
Yeah.
together.
True. Very true.
Because I'm right there with you. So when you right when you were learning, your kid, and then you're in high school, and you started joining lots of groups, right? You started singing, right? So was it Big Cedar and Wolf Spirit and Raining Thunder,
Yeah, Big C. Yeah, Big
Iron
Cedar.
Boy?
I put all the drum groups that I sang with too, because I know if anyone would keep me honest to who I sang with, is my brother Hollow, Carlos. He's been singing with me ever since we were younger, and also my cousin Marcus. They would never let me forget Big Cedar. So Big Cedar was like these college, University of Minnesota college guys that were getting together at the Native Student Center, and they were singing, and it was my cousin Tito and I just knew one of our cousin's father of her kid was one of the singers and wanted us to come and practice. So then we just became. So I had to put every drum group I was a part of, just because my close bros who would read the liner notes would be like, "Hey, you forgot one."
You forgot one.
So I'm staying true to them, and I know I ain't gonna forget them, and I'm not embarrassed to say who I sang with. But yes, that's who I sang with. Big Cedar, Wolf Spirit was all the little guys, the Goodman brothers and the Goodman family. We shared a lot of miles on the little teenage preteen powwow circuit. We had a lot of fun. We sang a lot, and that helped us, through our voice change, was singing
Through the Midwest, or was like the circuit like
Yeah, just in Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Usually, just yeah, my mom would not let me go nowhere far.
It's a big state, though. I mean, it's a big state.
Yeah, Yeah, it is. So we went all over and sang. Just being a part of the community and helping other drum groups out. I was down to do it. Also, Little Earth Juniors. That was also a drum group. That was like one of my first drum groups. I sat down on a drum and um, smiled around a lot first before I actually made a sound. It was just cool to me to be sitting down at a drum at first. So that's the point my sons are at right now. My son Jamin and my son JJ, and also my son Junior. My son Junior is involved culturally very deeply, and so he's learning all the songs that go with our cultures and our ceremonies that happen, in the private spaces in all of our communities across the whole country, not just Ojibwe communities, but everywhere. There's private ceremonies that go on throughout the year and seasons, and a lot of the most of the public will never get to see that, but powwow music is very public and it's very social.
It's cool.
So
I
that's
know.
the difference. That's a difference I wanted to keep with performing and coming out with this album. I wanted to keep it a powwow album.
Yeah, and your daughter is singing, right? I don't know if she playing drums too or just singing.
How could I forget Gigi, right?
Yeah.
She was with us at Pickathon this year.
That was incredible. I was there. I was like sitting right in front of you on Thursday morning.
Yeah.
It was the most mind-blowing thing for me all weekend was seeing you.
Yes, and so someone who was not in the beginner stages of singing is Gianna.
She was incredible.
Even though she's young, even though she's 11.
She's fully formed.
She's been singing since he was 3.
Oh.
She's been singing since he was 3, and she just shared a love, or showed a love for music very early on, and she was not scared to sing at first, but then as she got older, she was realizing like, oh my, I'm singing in front of huge crowds sometimes, and she would get nervous, and rightfully so. And now she's on stage with me, so there's a different kind of nervous there. But I just tell her she
seems so natural. Yeah. She was it was awesome. And one of the things that struck me seeing you live at Pickathon was your the way you use the tape, your actual powwow recordings as like performance. It's kind of like it's like samples, right? It's almost like a little sample machine.
Yes, sir.
It's cool. But you're not just using them as samples. You're using the pausing, the playing, the kind of contorting the speed, all in rhythm, all as part of the kind of song, which is like, I don't know if I've ever seen that done in a performance. I've seen tons of sampling and like, keys and triggers and all kinds of stuff, I thought that was super cool.
Oh, thanks.
Have you been doing that your whole life? Like that, you just been having like a cassette performing, or is that part of your newer?
I think like everyone who's a powwow singer kind of has a good like rewind, kind of like intuition. So like you get that, rewind. Okay, that's where I wanted to be, and then it's like it's there. I definitely have that going. I had that going for myself.
So wait, let me get this straight. You're actually taking a linear tape and rewinding, just feeling the rewinding to get back to the part you want to sequence next?
For the most part.
No way.
But I do queue up all of my, before the show, I do queue up all of my tapes to where I want them to start.
Okay.
And then there are some parts, especially in the speaking parts, where I want to highlight what they're saying. So I will rewind and stop. What I want to hear over and over again, I would just rewind and stop, and it would be, me just basically, scribbling back to what I want to put out there. So the actual tape playing and the sampling along with the track and the music did not come up right away, especially not in the process of making the album. We were like, hey, we're gonna do this at the live show too. It was like, we had samples, we had a sample folder, and Broder just pulled from the sample folder and just dropped, and we left most of those samples like uncut. So we were rehearsing to have a show. We opened up for Low.
Love Minnesota. Oh my God.
Yeah, their last album release party, they had um, two openers, and we opened before them, and but the album wasn't out yet. So what
Mm.
we did, we made a set of Broder's rhythms, and he had a turntable at the time where I gave him some records, and he was sampling live from the records and doing things like playing different things from his keyboard, and that was the live show there. But the premise of the whole show was it wasn't really improv. It was just making our own kind of set as we go. So I guess it was kind of improv, but I did have songs picked out to sing over those beats.
Yeah.
So during those rehearsals, we found, or I just was showing Broder a tape that I had that I probably found at my mom's or something, and we were at our friend Ryan's place where we rehearsed a lot and made some of the album. We were like okay, just leave it plugged in, let's see what happens. And we did one of those shows, or we did one of the songs, and we started playing. After the song was done, he just drug it out. He didn't press stop. But we ended up jamming for I don't know, like 6 or 7 minutes after the whole song was done, and we just kind of came up from it like, what is going on? So that happened during like a rehearsal that we didn't expect that to happen, the live sampling while the show was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, I think I brought some different tapes, and we hooked it up to a cloud guitar pedal, to add some delay and some shimmering or whatever that thing does, just to kind of manipulate
Yep.
the tape a little bit.
Yeah.
But I could, so I did have that early on. I did have that with us, the guitar pedal. But then after a while, we had to give it back to Ryan. So it's just been the tape recorder, and then I can, like you said, manipulate the speed and just kind of go with it, and just jam out with Broder in certain parts of our set. But
Yeah. It's like an instrument. It's like
Yeah,
some weird happy accident.
yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And we immediately knew that this is going to be a part of our show when
That's so cool.
that moment happened at the rehearsal of just me and him in the room too. We're just like, oh man, well that was cool. And then we showed Ryan, and he was just like, oh man, he was like, this is gonna be insane. And so like our the first show, the release show, we did that with the sampling and stuff, and people loved it.
That's awesome. I love Low too. Like in a lot of ways, your guys' music is compatible, in so many cool ways.
Yes, no, Alan is a good friend of ours.
Kind of a genius himself.
Yes. Once I figured out, why the Bond family, or the Bond family really loves Broder. I'm not Broder, but Alan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Broder too. They love Broder. But at the Eau Claire's Music Festival is also where we opened up for as a drum group.
Yeah, well, let's go back there because like there's a cool story here that so you're playing music, and somehow like 2016 you get invited to the Eau Claire's Music Festival. Like you were part of a cool, like another band, right, called Midnight Express, with some of the actual people
Yeah.
you used to hang out with at the Boys when you were
Yeah,
5.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Opie, lead singer, Midnight Express, Opie Day,
Mm-hmm.
used to take me to wrestling when I was a young fella.
Love
So
it.
he knows all sides of me. So yeah.
And
it's,
did you like, hey man, we need to be in a band together, or they recruited you?
No, that was the Midnight Express was a powerhouse in the early 2000s,
Cool.
and I graduated in 2005, and it took me a few years to become of age, and 2008 is when I started singing with Midnight Express until about 2018. But they're still singing, and it's not that I'm not a singer with them. It's just that I've taken a different path, and
Totally.
you know,
Thankful.
I've sang with them since then a few times, so it's never like goodbye, it's never like get out of here. But I'm still happy to have relationships with all of my big bros.
It's cool. I mean, it's like it's a great community in Minnesota. Like, it's actually kind of always fascinated me. So in 2016, there's this festival. It's kind of Pickathon-ish, people have said. We just kind of share the idea of like digging up essential music, right? Like, so Eau Claire.
It's more flat.
It's more flat.
It's just more. It's more flat.
You've been to both, so you would know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. But that was originally planned. That was just a few years thing that we were under the impression of. So they wanted to make it kind of like a high school 4-year thing. That's what we were. So we had the chance to sing for everyone backstage before they opened that first, the first time that we were there, and they were, this doesn't make any sense, but they were giving us. They asked how much money do we compete for first place prize money, like. Whatever. When we threw out a number and they gave it to us. So I was like, all right, well, I guess we're going to this music festival. We're going instead of going to a powwow that weekend, we went to a music festival and won first place money.
That's awesome.
Which was not the point of going, but that made a lot of my older bros say yes.
Yeah,
because
course.
A lot of my older bros have been there, done that. They've answered all the questions that people have, like, what are you guys saying? And what are they've, exactly. So like they've tuned everything out,
exactly.
You know what I mean? They're just there to do their job, eat the food, get the free stuff, and then we'll go back to the hotel, just like any other gig. Myself and a few other singers were like, no, this is different because there's Erykah Badu, there's Nathaniel Rateliff, and there's like, there's Justin Vernon from,
who's putting it on.
And that was the thing. They asked us to sing backstage, and we're like, okay, well, let's give them our best. Let's sing deal. Like we're singing for that prize money, and let's give them all 10s, as we used to say. Meaning, like on the scorecards, you're getting all 10s on every category of the scorecard. So let's give them 10s.
Yeah.
So man, we must have ripped something hard backstage because a lot of people were emotional. We made a lot of people. We made a lot of people cry. But
that's awesome. Like, that's like a huge compliment.
It was, and one of them people that was super emotional was Mr. Justin Vernon. And he walked up to us, and one of the things I'll never forget, he says, I never heard anything like that before or felt anything like that before.
Yeah.
And that's a different reaction. That's a different reaction than, oh, I enjoyed you playing your drums, and I enjoyed your chanting, and like, so that I knew that was a natural reaction, and I knew that this would be different. So
right on.
From there, we had multiple conversations about music and my archive, and he noticed the Tascam recorder that I was recording everything with. So those were the conversation starters, and that year 2016 was set me on a path that I did not know the end to, but here we are.
It's super cool because I mean, I love that it's cool to me to think of like other, like, that there's a deep culture there in Minnesota that people don't really understand. It's pretty diverse, like you got everything from Prince to Justin to like Low to powwow music. Minnesota is like got a lot of, just is bringing so much music to the universe, right? And it's not in just like one style. What's her name too is also from there. Who, Lizzo.
Yeah, she's originally from Texas, but we could.
Oh, she originally from Texas. She was singing at the singing in Minnesota when we heard of her.
Yeah, she was hanging out with our homies Ryan and them. So, but Justin, he is from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So that's why everything was, in Eau Claire. So he had a lot of probably the same kind of community that Pickathon had.
Yes.
And just, it brought out a lot of the community because he's very philanthropic. and also very involved in the Eau Claire community. So, for him to ask for us to come out and to actually have conversations with us, that's the type of caring that I appreciate. Not just having us there to be there. He was genuine in his conversation, and he, wasn't there to like, oh, we got to help you. Oh, we have to. He was doing things out of the goodness of his heart. And we met his parents, and it was a whole family thing. And we don't shake hands, we hug. So that's how I knew that this guy, he's a good guy, and his friends are good people too. So I have a lot of good people that I still talk to a lot, these days. So including one of his bandmates. Yeah.
And how did that lead to? Did you come back and play it again, or how did you meet Andrew? Like, so tell us that story.
We came back multiple years until it was done. So I think it was 3 years that we were there, and the last year that we were there, Andrew asked us to be a part of his Broder and Friends set, and it was in the woods on a smaller stage. But it seemed like that was their thing, to put like the cool people in the back and let people go explore and go find where all these.
Who was on the stage? Just say who's on the stage.
There was Channy from Polizza, Julian Baker, Phoebe Bridgers. There was was some people. There was a lot of people that came through that set, which was dope. And then there was us. We got, and Broder was like, I want you guys to set it off, at the end. So like we got to hear everyone go before us. And then Broder got into his set, man, and he just was playing some beats and some rhythms. And one of the dancers that was with us went and started dancing to Broder's production, to his beats. And he was like not speeding anything up, not slowing anything down. It looked like he was dancing to like a powwow song, which was cool. So like I had to like take that moment, and put it in my mind. But at that moment, I just wasn't, like I've said before, in that moment, I wasn't like, no, I have to go make an album with Broder. Like it just, it didn't end up that way. But
no, that's cool.
It was in my head. So that's how we kind of met Broder.
Really? Did it actually come into your head? Like I want to.
I knew it could happen.
This could be a collaboration.
I knew what we.
Because he's heavy EDM, and that's his beats, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, we did a residency for Broder as well. We did something at First Avenue, and it was a benefit night to benefit a local Native organization. So we were there from the start, even if it was a benefit night, meaning no one was getting paid anything, but that's the bottom that's the foundation of being a singer. You're called upon to sing, and you oblige without asking for anything. So that's that was he was very kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm just like, hey man, this is part of being a singer is singing when called upon, no matter the asking of the money. But he then was just like, he left the door open after that night of the benefit concert to like, he was like, hey man, if you got anything going on, or you need my help on anything, hit me up. And I'm like, okay, cool. But, before all that, or, before that moment, I also did some collaboration with Marijuana Death Squads. Like you said, it's a lot of everything. There's a lot going on, but my voice was side by side with all of that noise. And that was like one of the few times where I've like not been around my bros, but felt like I was still like sitting down and like having noise around me, and then being able to sing as loud as I can. So Marijuana Death Squads kind of set me up for all of this, and then Broder just helped me bring it home. But at first Broder said that he wasn't ready to do what I asked of him, just because he wasn't understanding completely what I was saying. But he had some time to sit with it and, listen to a little bit more of what I was asking of him. And
which was what? What did you ask of him?
I asked him to be the drum,
Okay.
but not like the drum, like to try to think like a singer, how a singer would drum. I want what you would think is a drum for me to sing over, but not like a powwow drum.
Like his version.
Give
Yeah.
me
I get it.
tempos, give me rhythms, give me certain things that you think that, you know, I could catch, or something that you're comfortable with me telling you to speed up or slow down. And he was just like, well, first, like, I'm no, because I'm white. If you're asking me to be the drummer, I'm not gonna do it because I'm white. And I said, yeah, I love you. I love you for that, brother. I love you for that, brother. And but this is not that situation. I think that, you know, if we take what you do and what I do and put it together, might be something cool. But let's try it out and just figure it out and try to do something as homies, and not really trying to like force it. But we weren't thinking of an album at all. It was just like, hey, it's quarantine time. You know, we have some downtime. I'm going to sound engineering, you know, certificate classes, all this stuff. So, you know, I have to stay, you know, on top of, you know, what I'm learning. So I did send him something that was distorted, that I distorted, and it was a powwow. It was a sidestep song, and all you could really hear was a. So I, you know, that was something that I brought to him and was like, hey man, I just want you to be the, you know, I just want you to give me a bunch of those, you know, whatever you think the noise could be, you know, something falling down the stairs, you know, rhythmically, I don't know, whatever you, give me some broader sounds, man. I just, you know, I want to see if I could sing.
What was the first one? What was the first one?
I think it was B.E. Sun, and it was just a simple,
Ooh, cool.
It was just a simple, you know, just. It was just like a simple, you know, something to sing over. And a lot of the songs I kind of thought up, you know, as I'm sitting in this very spot. And then some of the songs that I had already made that I kind of put to what Broder sent me. But some of those songs were listened to over and over for like 10, 15 minutes. And, you know, then I would come up with something. But we didn't know what was going to come out of some of these songs until Broder had a chance to operate and build and really put down what he thought could really happen. And
was it iterative? Like you would send it to him and he would change the beat somewhat or add more to it?
He would send me 10 to 15 minute loops of just the bones. And then I would sit there and I would listen. I would record, and then I'd send it back to him with how I sang, how I was hearing it, and then, you know, how I was singing over what he was sending. So it was kind of like pen pals, send it back and forth.
Wow. And no iteration, just like once and back, one ping pong.
Yeah. So Easy on the Side is actually a song that I forgot to slide my vocals back on. So I didn't drag them to the front of the song, so you hear like two whatever, but that was actually just like the first take. It was me listening for 2.5 minutes and then singing something totally on the fly, and then pausing and then trying to remember what I sang and then singing it again. So that's how some of the songs worked, was just like I listened and I sang whatever came to my head.
It's kind of incredible because it's like, it feels like there's a lot more production on that. Like there was like a lot more layering or something, you know, like it's pretty wild.
Once we had the basis of the vocals, then I would go back and I would sing over stuff, and I would, you know, layer and do that. But the basic, the early mixes were incredible, and he wasn't even done. Yeah. He wasn't even done building, like I said, wrapping the song in what he said, a big blanket with strings, with live strings. So once we got to a point with a handful of songs, we were wondering, you know, okay, what do we do with this? Once we got back Beijigo, we got back
which was the top 100 song last year.
It was number 90. It was number 90, and I pissed a lot of people off, but it's once we got that back, even with the strings that he played himself, I couldn't. I was just like, okay, what is this? Like, what is this? You know, this is something crazy. And, you know, we're showing people, and you know, he's like, can I show like a few of our close homies, our Sonic homies. And I'm like, please, because I need to know if like this is I needed to know I needed to be validated a little bit, but I just, what we were creating was something very cool, and his outlook for how to complete the album was very cool, but he wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with like, okay, are we going to release this, or if we're going to release this, who do we release it with, just started to, put that in my brain. But number one thing he said was, I want to do this, I want to do this because I feel like this is something that we should let people hear. And he understood where I was coming from too, from a drum group, from a team, and to ask me to step outside that team and that drum group, and all my nephews and my big bros and all my singing brothers, to step away from that meant a lot too. So he wanted to be real careful in how, and then left it up to me to really give the go ahead to let this happen. But I had a lot of time to talk with my family and my mom, and just a lot of internalizing went on. Think? Yeah, but
what did they think? I'm just like curious. Like, do you get blowback when you're so far off center?
They thought it was beautiful,
really?
And they thought everything that was being done was important, and they were starting to get the scope before I was, and that was like, this is going to literally take you places, and I wasn't thinking of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking of where I was going to go, or, how I was going to get there, or, I need this music to take me places.
Which is the greatest. Like it's
yeah.
It's your essence of you and like what you're feeling and loving. And, that's what this just shows up on the record. It's so beautiful.
I wanted to put the music first.
100%. And it's still powwow music. That's what's so cool about it. At its core, I mean, it definitely has other genres too. You know what I mean? But there's this indelible kind of sense of like the core of it is powwow music.
Yes.
And so you just somehow accidentally grew the genre, which
exactly
all genres that happens to, all great music genres. There are some people that want it to stay preserved and nice, but if you look back through musical history, it's always been the things that have been different to kind of bring it along, right? It makes it kind of vital again to a new generation of people.
Mm-hmm.
And man, hats off. It's really cool.
Thank you,
Joe. It's been really super pleasure to talk to you today and kind of hear your story. I really thank you for coming on, man. It's really great.
I enjoyed myself at Pickathon. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone that came up and said hi.
You blew some minds away.
Yeah, and I understand, it's a West Coast thing to have the natives go first, so I apologize if I seemed like I was unhappy about going first, but I just feel like just sometimes we're being ushered out there at the wrong times. But I understand from some of my West Coast native friends that it's a tradition for natives to go first and for men to be up there first. So I'll go by that.
Well, and the Lucky Barn too.
In the Lucky Barn,
I mean, it was
the Lucky Barn. I was great. I loved it. I really love having conversation.
One of my really close friends, Nehemiah, who was photographing you that time, he just couldn't even place what the heck it was. He was like, this was the most amazing thing.
Awesome.
I was like, I told you.
Shout out to the Altons who we met. Shout out to the Altons that we met.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to the Altons.
It was great.
Seeing other brown faces there, even though I have my other non-brown faces I love to see. But seeing some likeness there, we connected on that level. So Lee Fields is also great. Shout out to everyone that we've seen.
Incredible.
It was just a wonderful time, and I enjoyed myself very much. I did. I loved it.
I'm glad. And it's not the last one. We will be crossing paths, I'm sure. I'm excited just and see what's cooking for you in the future. Maybe you should give us one last, anything coming up in your world the next year.
Like I mentioned, I also not only, with Bon Iver, I know Justin Vernon, but a lot of his bandmates we've done stuff with too. Mike Lewis, the saxophonist from Bon Iver, we went to the same high school. So
no way.
Yeah, shout out to South High Tigers, and then also his percussionist and piano player and vocalist Sean Carey. That's what's next. My brother Dylan Bijikins Jennings, myself, and Sean Carey, also with a few of our accompaniances. We made another collaboration album, and it is being released on this summer. So the masters are being turned in right now, and it'll be released under Jaguar. Which is something cool. I don't know if I can say anything about that, but I did. And
no, you did. They're good friends of ours. We know them well.
Thank you. Well, this is something totally different from Nineta. But I also had just the best time recording it with Mr. Brian Joseph and his studio.
Wow.
And we've made another album with some more musical family members that we've collaborated with and that have seen the vision of collaboration with indigenous voices. So be on the lookout for that.
It's so great, man.
Our band is called Bijiki. So it's three of us.
Ooh.
So we'll be announcing very soon.
Is there a genre, or is it just cross genre?
This is Sean Carey and indigenous vocals at its best with some flair.
Oh, I
Definitely.
can't wait.
Yeah, with some flair.
It's gonna be so
it's not
cool.
All floaty vibes. There's some get down.
Hats off to you, man. Hats off. I love you digging in, and you just the faith in like making stuff that speaks to you, and that will speak to others. It's gonna, it's just like you gotta have the faith, and you gotta survive the journey, because there's some sustainability when you've gone through the long path you have, and now people are listening and paying attention, right?
Yes, sir.
It's going to open the door for others.
I'll always carry the music in front of myself. This is not something that is benefiting Joe Rainey. I hope this benefits the genre of powwow music, and we get the support that's needed, and that's what I think is the most important. Yes, but shout out to Portland. Love your city. Hopefully I can be back and catch a Blazers game.
Good vibes for our basketball team.
I just was watching you guys in Milwaukee, gave up a big lead, but give Scoot a chance. Give Scoot a chance.
They got some promise.
I was really impressed.
You can see
with
some
Scoot.
Promise, can't you?
I was really impressed with Scoot.
He came out strong.
Give him a chance.
I'm into it.
I was a big Terry Stotts guy, like I said in the Lucky Barn. People liked it. I shouted out Terry Stotts. He was a great.
He was solid
after timeout. Play jar upper, but I hopefully I can come back and you guys will have some summer basketball up there. But I'm a huge basketball fan.
You may. Are you a college basketball fan at all?
Yeah, I'm everything basketball fan.
Well, Kentucky, just watch. There's a good game on tonight against the Miami Hurricanes.
Yes,
coming up here at 7:30 Eastern.
Jim Laurinega still coaching Miami, I believe.
They have the best guards. Kentucky has scary good guards this year. I've never been more excited about Kentucky since back in Anthony Davis 2012.
Yes, I think the college game is going to be catching up pretty soon to how good these kids are. Coming out of college, just coming in and changing the league like Mr. Anthony Edwards is. And he didn't have to go overseas like Melo Ball. He stepped right into the league and set it on fire. So we love watching basketball. It's a huge part of my life, and do you see that?
I love it too.
Yeah, it's a huge part of my life, and it gave me a lot of things in my life that I'm very thankful for. The game of basketball.
Yes, powwow music, basketball.
Yes, sir, and wrestling.
All right, Joe. It's been just a real pleasure talking to you today. And with that, I want to say, hey, thank you, everyone, for listening. This is the end of episode 29. We'll be back next week with another one, continuing the saga of interesting creative journeys. This has been a hell of a story and journey. Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate it. All right. We'll see everyone. Bye.
You've been listening to the Pickathon Podcast. This podcast is produced by Zale Schoenborn, Tanner McCullough, and Evan Throckmorton. Our artwork is by Travis Bone, and additional support by Ryan Stiles. The music you heard in this episode was by our guest of honor, Joe Rainey. The songs included were Canned Key, DM2 or DMII, and the one we're riding out on right now, Turned Engine. Be sure to check out our Pickathon Patreon, where we have exclusive interviews, content, and insights into the Pickathon world. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you hear your podcasts. And tell a friend about where they can get on the Pickathon bandwagon. Thank you to the whole Pickathon family. And like Zale said, we'll catch you all next week.